Del Rio, Texas. Rob Wade and Robert Garza. Two guys who dive. This episode of Two Guys Who Dive recorded live Saturday, 4 May 2013, episode 65, The Bitter and the Sweet. Well, welcome once again to another episode of Two Guys Who Dive, and I'm your host, Rob Wade, and unfortunately, Scuba Bob, a.k.a. Robert Garza, is out with strep throat. Seems like I've been doing a lot of solo running here, so if there's any local Del Rio divers that want to pitch hit for Scuba Bob when he's absent, because I'm almost never not here. If I'm not here, the show doesn't go on at all, but we'd definitely like to invite you to involve yourself in the show. And certainly you can interact with us online. If you're watching this show live, you can go right into the chat room and interact with us. And we'd definitely love to hear from you. As a matter of fact, I notice my wife and producer, Tara, is in the chat room. She says, "Hi, can you read this?" Yes, of course I can read this. So it's working fine. And if you weren't with us last week, you're probably noticing a little bit better video because we are now in HD. Ever since we upgraded the primary studio computer here, we've been able to benefit from the power of an Intel i7 processor and the ability to really pump this thing up to 720p. The only thing stopping us, actually two things stopping us from going to full-on HD, as in 1080p, is the fact that one of the cameras that we have, as a matter of fact, the one that we've got the full screen on, this one, will only go to 720p. The other two cameras that we focus on for Scuba Bob, who's currently absent, and of course myself, they can go up to 1080p. So, and then the other consideration is, of course, the bandwidth. We've got a business class line, but they just guarantee a minimum speed, and of course, that it isn't cheap to get a lot of upload speed. Now, it seems like they've got their systems. Most of your internet service providers have got their systems focused on the download speed. So, in other words, everything going out to the customer. But when you're doing, obviously, a broadcast medium like this, oh, excuse me one moment while I pick up our special guest. Pulling a Mark Rubio, except I'm not getting a drink. Yes, there we go. One of our little dogs here, Ronan. Say hi. Really? Not? Okay. Normally he licks the microphone, the pop filter, but not this time. He's been a little bit under the weather with his back, but slowly making some progress. This is probably going to be an ongoing thing with him, since dachshunds. If anybody who is a dachshund owner knows that their backs are susceptible to issues if you're not careful, and he's developed a disc issue that comes and goes with his activity. So he's doing better now, thank goodness. So anyway, with the camera setups that we have now, the full screen camera only does 720p. The two host cameras will do 1080, and then with the having only a 2 megabit or 1.5 megabit per second upload speed with our current service provider, you can only get so much data through. If we really want to do full HD, we'd have to go higher. So we'll see how that goes. We may have to wait until we get actual sponsors or something where we can afford to do something like that. But in the meantime, it's still I like that we can give a better signal now with what we have. So the title of the episode this week is The Bitter and the Sweet, because we have some good news things to talk about and some bad news things to talk about. And I resisted the urge to title the episode May the 4th Be With You, because the episode, of course, is on May 4th, and just about everybody uses that I'm not sure what the pun or but a lot of people use that. But interestingly, as news is starting to build, for those who may not be aware, Disney purchased Star Wars and all that goes with it, and so they're going to go full steam ahead on doing additional movies as well as other spin-off series, and I'm sure the cartoons and all that. And everybody's been asking, okay, for Star Wars 7, will the cast the characters that we all really know and love and care about, which of course are Han Solo and Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker, are they going to be in the 7th movie? Well, it would make no sense for them not to be, of course. But basically, they've all signed on. Interestingly, some recent news came out that Disney is providing to Carrie Fisher, who played Princess Leia in episodes in the original Star Wars, which was actually episode 4, and then the 2 subsequent movies, 5 and 6. They're providing her a personal trainer. She's gained quite a bit of weight as she's aged, and of course she has the right to. Obviously, I'm not at all disparaging people who have gained weight, but she has, and in order to play the part of Princess Leia again, you would think that she'd want to get in fairly decent shape, depending on how they're going to play her character in Star Wars 7, whatever it's going to be titled. And so she's, of course, been having fun with that, making jokes about it, that she's eating all that she can so that she will have basically gotten that out of her system. She's actually, as she got older, she actually focused more on writing and comedy. She actually does more comedic style stuff and has actually written or directed movies that have a more comedic flair to them. So it'll be interesting to see what actually happens with that. I'm sure there'll be plenty of news coming out for that. You know, I was a big fan of the original Star Wars movies, Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. I was not such a fan of episodes 1, 2, and 3. Episode 1 was okay because it was taking it where it was supposed to go in the first place. A lot of folks don't know that, and I used to get all the various science fiction and movie magazines back in the day. This is back in the 70s. And George Lucas actually talked about the series as a trilogy of trilogies. His original idea was to have, starting with Star Wars, it would be episodes 4, 5, and 6, like the old serial shows of the 50s, I think it was. It was going to have 4, 5, and 6, and then back up and get 1, 2, and 3, and then finish up with 7, 8, and 9. That was the original plan, but he never really did share with a lot of people what that looked like, what the details were. Well, after Return of the Jedi, nothing was done for years with the Star Wars franchise as far as the movies were concerned. So most folks thought that pretty much that George had gotten tired, burned out way too quick, and was kind of putting to bed the series. Until, of course, fast forward decade later, two decades later, he spun it up again and did episodes 1, 2, and 3, which of course made insane amounts of money, but were not nearly as beloved by fans, especially those my age, as the original, the first 3. There was a magic, admittedly, with the actors in episodes 4, 5, and 6 that just didn't exist. I'm not a Natalie Portman fan. Unfortunately, she was in the Thor movie, and she's going to be in the sequel. And I was like, oh, please, can they just kill her off? I just can't stand her as an actress. And then, of course, Christian Haydenson, or whatever his name is, zero chemistry at all. I was glad to see him become Darth Vader, because I didn't care about him as Anakin Skywalker. So, and then, of course, there was the whole Jar Jar Binks debacle. So now everybody's anxious to see what the next movie looks like. And I have high hopes that with them bringing back the real Star Wars characters, even at their advanced age, that they're going to do a much better job with the movie. It really will depend on what kind of storyline. Where do you go from the end of Return of the Jedi? So that'll be interesting. Last week, you may recall, if you watched the episode live or on YouTube, you may recall that I took our new Sea Life DC 1400 Duo Pro, or Pro Duo, camera out for a short spin out at San Felipe Creek, and I shot some video, and I was trying to find the part of the video that had this fish that I wasn't used to seeing in the creek. And so I have that video here. Let me bring it up. Yeah, I'll get it playing here. And I do not recognize what kind of fish that is. Let me back that up again so you can see that. There we go. I don't think I'm thinking that must have been something that was dumped in the creek from somebody's fish tank or something. My wife is so funny. She's commenting that I look awesome. No, as you can see, the visibility was not fantastic. There were a lot of kids swimming around and kicking things up. There was a crawfish cruising through. But I just really, really, really love this camera. We're trying to finalize our trip to Grand Cayman, and I am beyond anxious to get some great pictures and video with this camera. So let me clear that out. There we go. So yeah, so I'm not sure what that fish was, what type of fish that was. I probably could go online and seek it out, search it out, but it just kind of hung around there. And then there was just a bass. We see a few bass in the creek there every so often. I did see one. I cut the video off last week before we got to see that on there, but it was so funny because it came cruising by me and then swung around and then just kind of stopped. It kind of did one of those little double takes, like what? And it was staring at me. It just hung there for a few seconds, 5 seconds or so, and then it just kind of cruised on by. It's like when you have when you have those situations where the fish kind of are staring you down, It's always a little bit surreal when that happens. And then also you may recall that I found somebody's keys that were in a Ziploc bag. And let me tell you, Ziploc bags do not work well underwater. This was a double zip one. But the fact is, the nature of the design of plastic, it really does let water in over time. So moisture collected in there. So they got all rusty, but these were the keys that were found. I'm thinking this isn't a Ford key. I'm not sure what that symbol. I've seen the commercials. I want to say Mercury or something like that. But that was the key, and obviously this has got to be a girl's key, and it looks like it's got somebody's house key on there too, and probably a padlock or something like that. And then this was the key fob that was on there. That's what I actually saw through the plastic, was that Ford. It was plastered right up against there. I've never seen anything like this. I guess this would be like a keyless start. So it was interesting. So anyway, still no takers on that. I may go by the Ford dealer or somebody, see if there's a way to find out if they can track down who that belonged to, because I would like to get it back to him. They've probably long since replaced it. This looks like it's been down there for a while, but we'll see. So in tech news, interestingly, this shows you how nobody's perfect. Companies do things, flip the switch on something before it's ready, and sometimes people happen to be at the right place at the right time to catch the glimpse of those mistakes. Acer has kind of had a tumultuous experience lately with their various devices, mostly in the laptop, PC, tablet realm. But they had a big event last week announcing some new equipment, new gear, new tech. One thing that was not announced, but for some reason showed up on Amazon, they let slip, and I've got the website that Windows Phone Central, WP Central, actually had that. Let me bring up the screen region here. There we go. An 8.1 inch tablet getting priced. Now, interestingly, as a sidebar here, many people commented on this picture, which is clearly a Photoshop of some type or some other digital edit. Somebody was commenting that this is like E.T.'s hands, because if you look, there's no way somebody's hands have that long of fingers to wrap around a tablet like this. This is clearly not a picture of the Acer tablet. It's a picture of it's a picture of one of Acer's existing tablets, and they just photoshopped a hand around it. And that is funny. If you were to take the tablet away, that would be insanely long fingers. That would be like ape-like hand to grab a hold of that. So anyway, some of the specs on it, on this device at the time. Now they've taken the ad down at Amazon because they realized they weren't supposed to release this yet. But this is the W3810. It's 8.1 inch tablet, supposedly going for $380, right? $379.99. And I was pretty amazed at. It's got some fairly decent specs for being so small. 1280 by 800 display, 1.8 gigahertz Atom dual core processor, 2 gig of RAM, 32 gigabytes of storage. Could do with more memory. I'm not sure what current 7-8 inch tablets are running as far as memory, built-in memory. 2 megapixel camera up front and in the rear. So it's really, really stayed boring camera, one micro USB 2.0 port, and micro HDMI. So you could plug this into external, a monitor or TV or whatever. Only weighs 1 pound and an ounce. 8 hours of battery life. That's pretty cool. I guess this is probably supposedly a picture of what it looks like. But yeah, $379.99. So to say that Windows 8 is only going to be on the 10-inch or bigger tablets obviously is not true, and this is a smart way to go if they want to be competitive with like the iPad Mini. And personally, this makes it very good. I don't see myself using one this size, but I like the larger size because it is going to replace for a lot of aspects. It's going to replace my laptop. Not for everything. There's certain things that my laptop can do, even as as old as it is. There's certain things my laptop can do, my notebook can do that a tablet's not going to be able to do. But for a large part of the portability of doing real PC work, not the consumption toy stuff that you can do, that's pretty much all you can do with the iPad. Doing the enterprise type stuff, the things I need to do with my network, having a Windows 8 tablet is going to be it's going to be awesome. It's going to be good. There's already rumors of the Surface 2.0, but supposedly it's going to be closer to this size, the 8-inch. To be quite honest, I need for the next Surface to be running the Haswell processor, so it gets 9-10 hours battery life, but still have the great look and all the other positive design aspects of the current Surface. There's not a lot about as far as physical design of the Surface that I don't like. I really love the touch cover, etc. So if they can just get that thing to where it runs more than closer to a 9 or 10 hour battery life, that'll be great. Yeah, well, my wife's commenting that there are too many stinking commercials. Well, that's because we're not paying for our stream at ustream.tv. If you pay one of their plans, then you get to go without commercials and all that good stuff. But we're not, so it's free. Again, maybe if we get a sponsor, we'll be able to expand and pay for that. But in the meantime, free is okay. I can be annoyed by commercials. Hopefully you can be annoyed by commercials. Plus, we do have the show recorded as we're doing this. The beauty of this software, XSplit, allows it to be recorded at the same time that we're streaming it. So after we're done, I turn around, check it, make sure it did. We didn't have any glitches during the recording, and then I upload it to YouTube. So you can watch it commercial free after the fact. So if there's any parts that you missed or just want to see again in HD, we're in HD. You can check it out on YouTube and see the parts you missed, or see it without the commercials, all that good stuff. Or skip past the parts that bored you, and which hopefully isn't most of the show. Let's see. Oh, I thought this was pretty interesting. For all you zombie fans out there, there is now a zombie apocalypse diver certification. I kid you not. Now, I don't know if the other certification agencies have this aspect to their program, but Patty has what they call distinctive certifications, where if you as an instructor can come up with a standard, a plan, an actual instruction plan, a curriculum for a unique certification, and there's actually quite a few distinctive dive certifications out there. You get a card for it and everything, but you have to do your homework. You have to put all the information together, show how it's actually presented, and then if it meets their standards, and it truly is unique and has some sort of a use to it. PADI will roll it into one of their specialties. So interestingly, and I'll go to their website here. I just think this is a trip. So Sharkatooth's, I guess that's how you pronounce that, diving company has created this distinctive diver certification for zombie apocalypse diver course. I love the patch. It's pretty cool. You can go to zombieapocalypsediver.com to check out more. But here's some of the details here. They put people in makeup and everything. So, welcome to the original site of one and only PADI, Zombie Apocalypse Diver Certification Course. This course is certified to offer divers a chance to hone their skills and enjoy a day of adventure in the water. Obtain over 2 scenario-based dives. Trainees will earn their certification by completing a unique series of challenges and obstacles. Divers will test their survival skills, rescue skills, and a few skills they didn't even know they had. At the end, they will obtain the most sought-after certification card in scuba history, Zombie Apocalypse Diver. This is a trip. Great pictures. This is awesome. And if I were going to Utila, which is I think where they're doing this this certification, I would love to do it. The T-shirt's worth it. Look at this. This is remarkable. And you get the certification picture done in zombie makeup. I guess the way it works is in the scenarios you avoid you get actually the skills that you test are navigation and buoyancy control, because you're not supposed to let the zombie divers touch you. If you do, then you have aspects of rescue and self-rescue that you have to engage in. So this really tests, the neat thing about this is that it does test you, push your self-rescue and rescue skills. And then at the end of it, you get picture done up in zombie makeup, and I guess that's the certification card that you get. That's pretty cool. That is amazing. So if you want to check that out, if you're interested at all to find out more, you can go to the Sharkatoothus.com, and then they have a link for the Zombie Apocalypse Diver, or you can go to, I wonder what that website looks like, zombieapocalypsediver.com. Let's click on the link. Okay, click on the image more above. Amazing. And obviously they have a Facebook page. So if you're a diver and you're interested in this, or actually if you're just into zombies and not necessarily a diver and you just want to find out more about this, check that out. Go to zombieapocalypsediver.com. Pretty cool. So, yeah, it just gets weirder and weirder. Well, now on to a little bit of the bitter part of the netcast this week. A friend of ours who was also the instructor who certified me from basic open water, advanced open water, rescue diver, and dive master, and pushed, goaded, encouraged, cajoled me into becoming an instructor myself. Richard D. Urban passed away last Saturday night. He'd had a long battle with a number of physical issues, and I'll just be honest about it, because I think we're adults here, and I think it's important to make this distinction as a diver. He had an issue with alcohol, and while I'll not be in the line of people to wag a finger and say you shouldn't drink, and I will throw back a drink every so often, once in a blue moon, and I certainly had my period growing up, but the simple fact is, if you overindulge in anything, it can be dangerous to you. And unfortunately, alcohol has a number of truly horrifying negative side effects. It just so happens that the week before, I was participating in singing some music for an entire family that died in it. Well, the exception of the young son. The father, the mother, and the two daughters passed away in a car accident late at night near San Antonio because of a drunk driver who happened to be driving on the wrong side of 4-lane split highway. Somehow he crossed all the way over and was heading the wrong way, and he was driving a semi. And he hit their SUV and killed everybody except the son. And it was any accident like that is a tragedy. But to take nearly an entire family out at one time because you can't put down the alcohol is tragic. But as a diver, I recognize that alcohol is quite frequently a part of the culture. Unfortunately, even though divers know better than to overindulge on anything that would put them in a condition that makes it unsafe to dive, ultimately, they give in to peer pressure, and parties are what they are, and they're fun, and I get all that. But unfortunately, Richard was one of those who had a long career or a long life of going a lot of places, seeing a lot of things, and alcohol moved from being a friend to an enemy and was destroying his liver. That's how my father died. He was an alcoholic. I recognize that. He was absolutely an alcoholic. And unfortunately, when it starts to tear down your liver, that's, aside from a liver transplant, there's not much you can do. So unfortunately, it took its toll on Richard's life, and last Friday he collapsed at work, and he was taken to San Antonio, or airlifted to San Antonio, where things just went downhill quickly from there, and he finally passed away. So I would just like to just show you a little bit about the guy, just show you just a few scenes of just how we interacted with him. And so we just say goodbye to a very interesting, colorful man who I ultimately, I give him credit for getting me fully into the scuba diving sport, activity, and ultimately the career as an instructor. there you have it. Richard Urban passed away last Saturday, one day before his 62nd birthday. You know, that's just entirely, in this day and age, entirely too young to be passing away. There's so many things that take us out. You know, the number of challenges physically, diseases, illnesses, etc., accidents, natural disasters that challenge our longevity. It's just a shame to lose somebody over something that could have been ultimately avoided. So, Richard Urban, a lot of people are going to miss you, and just thank you for bringing me into this. I'm much the better for it. Okay, so on to the sweet part of it. I was, it just shows you how time flies when you're having fun. I got started as an instructor in 2008. The instructor development course that I took in Nacogdoches, Texas was awesome. It was a full week of in residence, I guess if you will, schooling, training, performance demonstration to get ready for the actual test, which was in New Braunfels, Texas, in February of all times. It was definitely cold. The water wasn't. Luckily, at the Comal River, it's like San Felipe Creek and Balmorhea Park. It's a constant temperature year round. But getting out of the water was, of course, chilly in February. But I took my certification test exam, juggernaut gauntlet in February of 2008. Got certified as an instructor, and today received from Patty. Let's see if we can get the glare out of here. My 5-year anniversary. I received my 5-year pin, which probably can't see very well. Let's see if I can keep the glare off. So, 5 years as a scuba instructor. It's hard to believe. I mean, I have to say, I've had a great time as an instructor. It's a lot of work. Don't let anybody kid you. Being an instructor or a dive master is huge work. There's a lot that we do ahead of the class and then after the class. When y'all go home, we're back cleaning up gear, making sure everything's in order, doing the daily paperwork that we have to do to make sure everything is all set for the next day, and then ultimately making sure that all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed after you finish your last dive, and we shake hands, and I give you that temporary card as a diver till you receive your permanent one to make sure that you get the right thing and all that. So, yeah, it's a lot of work, but one of the things that Richard taught me is that there is so much fun to be had just with all the work, bringing somebody from I have no clue how to dive through, wow, this is scarier than I thought, don't think I'm ready for this, to, you know what, this isn't as bad as I originally thought, to, wow, I love this, I'm looking forward to our first dive trip kind of thing. That's the reward. You can go to dive shops and they have, depending on how long they've been in business, you can go to dive shops that have a really well-oiled operation, and they bring you through the process, bring you through the system. They have good customer service and everything, but you're just one of many that come through. It's a job, and I've been on a number of discussions in like LinkedIn and some other places, Scuba Board, where you hear the lamentations of dive masters and instructors who they complain about the hours and they complain about the low pay, etc. I don't do this for the money. Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not doing this for free, because I have fees to pay for. I have insurance to pay for. I have gear to replace and upgrade and maintain, and all of that is part of the business of scuba diving. But that's not my motivation. Those are the things that I have to do. Those are the cost of doing business. But ultimately, I do this because I love the sport. I think most people can do this, and I think more people than do should do this. And it's just a shame that I can't get more people involved. And I get a great amount of enjoyment the fact that my wife does this with me as well. It took a while to convince her, and she just posted, "You're the best, sweetie." That's my girl. I love her. I enjoy scuba diving with her. We make a perfect dive team, a perfect buddy team for diving. And so I'm always excited if I can get family members or get couples to do this, because it really adds a whole new aspect to your life together, your life as a family. And it certainly adds a whole new aspect to your vacations. For the longest time, we would go on a vacation if we went on a vacation, and it was great. We go visit and see the sights and all that. But now it's the focus is diving. We look at where can we go diving. When my wife got first certified, we were doing a cruise. That was kind of really what spurred the whole thing on for her. We were doing a cruise, and I was of the attitude, that's fine, we can do the cruise, but we're going to be pulling into some of these exotic places. I'm bringing my gear. I want to dive. So ultimately she got certified, and we were able to get her first saltwater dive in Grand Cayman, and she loved it. And those are the kind of memories that are so unique. We've shown videos on the netcast here, and we'll continue to show them, especially now that we have a great camera. Those, as good as they are, and they're great memory joggers, they pale in comparison to actually being in the water, experiencing all of that. To me, it's the rare person who can't enjoy scuba diving. You'd have to have an issue with equalization, or just a flat-out insurmountable fear of claustrophobia or water in your nose, or whatever it is. You'd have to have something that's just beyond rational ability to overcome in order to not dive. PADI and SSI and SDI, a number of the other agencies, they have wonderful programs for people who are paraplegic, quadriplegic, various disabilities, enabling them to dive. So think about it this way. If you've got wounded warriors who can dive, if you've got people who are in car accidents and lost a limb, I have no doubt that at least some of these, a few of these unfortunate souls who were horribly hurt in the Boston Marathon bombing, I have no doubt that some of them will be approached, or at least consider the idea of maybe getting into scuba diving if they weren't before, because there is equipment now that is accommodating to those kinds of divers, and the curriculum for teaching diving for people who are differently abled or disabled has been pretty matured over the last several years. So there's not a reason why you can't. So if those folks can do it, well, I don't understand what's the resistance in somebody who has everything else, is for all intents and purposes whole and together. Why they can't do it? I just think it's why not try it? Why not try it? We're going to try and get some Discover Scuba events going this year. So those of you who have thought about trying it, but you're not ready to jump right in, doing it in a pool is amazing. How it can open your eyes to the possibility of doing this. So I'm humbled and yet very happy. I've reached the 5-year mark and looking forward to the 10-year mark and my 10-year pin. Looking forward to increasing the dive community in Del Rio, Texas, and Southwest Texas as much as possible. Given any if we can get some water into the lake, we've had a little bit of rain in the area, especially up a little bit northwest of us. So we're hoping some of it will translate to the lake. But golly, it's just down so incredibly low now. It's downright depressing to see it that low. So 5 years as an instructor, hard to believe. Let's see. I was looking at the latest Sport Diver magazine, and they had an interesting article in here that I hadn't really thought about it this way, but they've got an article that talks about the 8 dive trips that will make you a better diver. Now, interestingly, I have talked about the advanced course that we teach here. And the advanced course it's not as daunting as it may sound. It really is. It's expanding your understanding of a little bit more dive theory, but also expanding your awareness, giving you introductions to some specialty type diving. The core pieces that you have to do are the deep dive and the complex navigation. And by complex navigation, it's basically a longer to and from and navigating a square, because you may have to navigate around something. And it kind of gives you a hint as to what you might be in for if you decide to move on to rescue diver. So if you take the advanced course, you'll get those 2, and then there are a number of, you have 3 other dives you have to take, but they're electives, and there's a whole slew of specialties from which these elective dives come. It's basically each of these dives is the first dive of that specialty. So your deep dive in the advanced course is basically the first dive for the deep diver specialty. Your complex navigation dive for advanced diver is the first dive for your complex navigation, your navigation, underwater navigation specialty. Though we're kind of limited on the ones we can teach here in the local area because of certain things not being available. But also, I kind of tailor it based on what I have recognized over time as the most frequent additional skills that divers moving out of the basic certification would most frequently and more immediately come to need. Wreck diver, because most of the time you're going to go to places where there are wrecks. The night dive, which if you never go on a night dive, you are missing on some spectacular, especially in, not so much in a lake, but if you never go night diving, when you're in Florida or Cozumel or any of these exotic places, you're missing out on something, because that's when, you see pretty coral and everything during the day, but it all opens up at night. There's so much of it is actually pulled in and protected during the day, but it opens up at night. So to do the night dive and actually get a night dive specialty would be even better, because it sets you up to be very comfortable in an environment where your visibility is really limited to what your light hits, which can be pretty scary, pretty daunting. But that's one of the specialties. And then we do a drift dive as well. And that one serves you well in places like Cozumel or diving on the East Coast, because that's all drift diving. A number of islands that you go to are going to be typically drift diving. So knowing how to go with the flow, how to work with the currents so that you don't get exhausted and frustrated and miss out on things. Trying to take pictures in a current is challenging, and so you have to set yourself up for that. So this is just gives you a little bit of an introduction to these types of specialties. So that's what we do with that. But I never thought of it from the aspect of, okay, what if I want to choose locations specifically because they hone my skills? And so I found the article pretty interesting. And so I'll just hit some of the highlights here. If you go to the Riviera Maya in Mexico, I guess the big thing there is you really get, there's a perfect place to practice your peak performance buoyancy specialty course. Because you're diving in cenotes. And for those who don't know what cenotes are, they're basically underwater caves where the roof has opened up. So you kind of move and they're typically, a lot of times they intermingle with freshwater. And so you see some spectacular sites where the salt water, which is more buoyant, is above the freshwater. And literally, if you're carefully moving through it and don't disturb it, you literally can dive through the salt water and freshwater. It's just a spectacular sight. I have a picture that I need to find again and post it. It's amazing because it looks like somebody is diving in mid-air because of the difference in the water types. So Riviera Maya in Mexico, in the cenotes, is perfect for getting your certification for peak buoyancy specialty. Monterey, California, is perfect for dry suit diving because that is all cold water. Now, what's interesting, a lot of folks who aren't from that area, they think, what do you mean cold water? This is California. You got to understand how movement of water in the oceans works. If you look at the northern hemisphere, all of the water movement in the ocean moves clockwise. Okay, so in the southern hemisphere, it works exactly the opposite. So what happens is you have water that maybe starts warm at the equator and then moves westward and moves up along the coast of Japan, etc. And that's why they have their, what's the word? They don't call them hurricanes over there. There's a word for what they call them. Not tsunamis. What is the word? Wonder if Tara's paying attention. Maybe she can find it for me. Oh, it's going to drive me up the wall. Hurricanes are not called hurricanes over in the Pacific Ocean. Headed over like Japan, they're called something else. It's just going to kill me if I can't remember. But anyway, as the water warms, it moves up the east coast of Japan and China, etc., and then moves up to Alaska, etc., where it cools down. Well, when it cools down, then it moves down because it's all clockwise. It follows along Alaska, along Canada, and down the western seaboard. So that water current is actually still cold water till it warms up as it moves into the tropic area. Man, it's going to kill me if I can't remember that name. I should look it up. It's going to kill me if I don't. So, good old Bing search here. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I want. What are hurricanes that form in Asia called? Typhoons, yes. Yes. So when they're all out that part of the world, they're called typhoons. Over here, they're called hurricanes. So anyway, so as the water comes along the west coast there, it's cold water. And that's why you have distinctly different, the migration is all different there, etc. And so you have huge kelp beds, etc., that you get to see. And so most people who dive around Catalina, etc., they're doing dry suit diving because that water is still quite chilly. And you'll see your surfers are typically still in wetsuits and things like that. Now, obviously, because it's all clockwise in the northern hemisphere, that same motion happens in the Atlantic. That's why we get our hurricanes. The hurricanes that we deal with start off the west coast of the Mediterranean, the Azores, and all of that, moves across the equator, and then shoots up across us. Depending on the trajectory and how the trade winds, how the jet stream is working, can either let it push it on into the Caribbean or curve on up, because that's the natural flow, curves on up to the eastern seaboard, where it hits Greenland, Iceland, England, and it all cools down again. And then so all the diving along the western, Europe, etc., all of that's going to be cold, just like it is around western United States and Canada. It's all cold water diving. And of course, all of this is reversed in the southern hemisphere. So anyway, dry suit diving is a specialty that you can get, and evidently Monterey is a perfect place for that. Bonaire is good for the Project Aware fish identification specialty, because Bonaire has some of the largest variety of unique fish in that area. And so a lot of people who they build a list of fish they have identified. I ran into a few of those people on I think it was our Curacao trip. They actually were recording all of the different fish that they ever encountered. So they were kind of checking it off. Okay, yeah, we've finally seen one of these. So Bonaire is evidently a great place for that. Let's see. Cozumel, we've been there. I've got to say that's got to be the drift diving. Yep, Patty drift diver specialty, because that is some serious drift diving there. One of our worst dives ever was, we've had great diving in Cozumel, love diving there, but one of our worst dives ever was in Cozumel. We went on one place that was, basically it looked like it was a big cone mound that we moored to, and the water was so choppy and the current was so strong that as we were coming around, heading back into the current from coming around the other side of this wall, this mound, excuse me, I literally had to tow Tara behind me because she was just getting exhausted. And then, of course, getting out of the water was disastrous and painful because the chop was so bad. We were getting beaten to death by the ladder on the boat. So you got to be ready for that. So that's one of the reasons why I definitely push to have students get the drift dive as part of the advanced, just to give you an experience with that. Deep diver specialty is perfect for Cebu or Cebu, not sure how you pronounce it, in the Philippines. I guess most of the really good diving, the reefs lie about 90 feet from the shore, dropping down to 165 feet. We do a lot of deep diving, Scuba Bob and I, we do a lot of deep diving here in Del Rio, or here at Lake Amistad, because even with the water down as low as it is, there's so many so many canyon areas there. So when you drop on a wall, and I love wall diving, you can't help but get a deep dive or two here. So we're normally pushing below 70, 80 feet. Not uncommon at all to cross 100 feet. Okay, and where we're looking to go this year, Grand Cayman, the propulsion vehicle specialty course, basically one of those little scooters. You may have seen one of the episodes where we had some video of me using a scooter, which I need to repair ours. It got wet. You'd think that it's, well, what's the big deal about, why would you need a specialty for a submersible dive propulsion vehicle? Well, obviously, you have to make sure that you don't you don't surface too quickly, and you can easily do that if you're not paying attention with one of those scooters. You point that thing up, and suddenly you are going to have an embolism. So learning how to control it, especially so that you don't accidentally run into or damage any sea life that's there, So becoming a responsible diver and a responsible driver. So that's a good specialty there. So Grand Cayman is evidently a good part for that. Good area for that. Let's see. Curacao, which we've also been to. We've been to Grand Cayman before. That was Tara's first saltwater. Night diver specialty. You know, it's a shame. We didn't go on any night dives while we were there. But and we actually went with, they recommended Ocean Encounters, which is who we went with. I definitely want to go back to Curacao. There were just there was more diving there than we could actually get into a week. And we lost a day as part of that trip. Shuffle across marble. St. Croix, shore diver distinctive specialty course, Cane Bay Dive Shop. If you've never had the pleasure of wrestling with surf, entering and exiting water, you have not lived. I had a class I was teaching here several years ago, a few years ago. It was an entire family, as a matter of fact, where it was the last dive, and it was awesome. We had a great dive, but I guess there was a storm coming that just kind of built up quickly. When we get storms here, they build up, pretty quickly. We popped up at the end of the dive, and the chop was huge. The wind had to be coming right into Scuba Cove, so we're talking huge waves here, white caps, and the shore there is a fairly steep rock incline. And so I had an opportunity to demonstrate and have each of them actually experience a surf exit. So I showed them the proper way to exit the water. So evidently there is a distinctive specialty that the dive shops there in St. Croix have for the type of shoreline they have. So that's an opportunity to get a specialty. And that covers, I think, all of the... Yep, that covers all of those. So that's something to consider. When you go on these dive trips, if you have the time and a little bit of extra money, it's not a bad idea to see if you can get one of these additional specialties. It's something that, I'll be honest with you, as an instructor, I've not really thought of before. But it's something I'm willing to consider because it never hurts to get additional specialties. Now, I have to go through additional training if I'm going to actually teach and certify you in a particular specialty. But there are some people who they go for not dive master but master diver. If you get five or more specialties under your belt, then you get the master diver certification, showing that you've acquired a number of specialties. So something you can check out, it can add another additional aspect to your vacation dive. So if you are a diver and you go on vacations different places, you might look into some of the specialties that you could acquire. Now, obviously, there are a number of different dive agencies. PADI is by far the most has the most locations. But make sure that if you get a specialty that you'd probably be best off making sure it's with an agency that you're already certified with. So if you're a PADI diver, get the specialty with us with a PADI location. If you're a NAUI diver, get it with the NAUI dive shop, etc. So good idea. But so that's just another aspect. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I'd always thought of it from the aspect of I know where most people are going to go diving or what kind of diving they're going to expose to. And so these are the adventure dives that I suggest for them. But I never thought about it, planning your vacation to specifically focus on that particular skill set. That's pretty cool. Well, here we are at 9:06. You know, leave it to me to be able to go on by myself without without a co-host. Go on even still past the hour, but that's okay. I'm just excited to do this. I enjoy this so much. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. Let me hit the administrivia. Here we go. So next Del Rio Dive Club meeting is 16th of May at 7 o'clock at Rudy's Restaurant. Love to have you there. Balmorhea State Park dive trips, May 17th through 19th, June 14th through 16th, July 19th through 21st, and August 16th through the 18th. And then I have basic open water scuba classes scheduled for May 23rd through the 26th, June 27th through the 30th, July 24th through the 28th, August 22nd through the 25th, and September 26th through the 29th. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can check us out at on Facebook /Del Rio Dive Club. We have all of these dates posted in our events area. So if you go to the Facebook page and just click on events, you can scope out where these are and encourage you to add them to your calendar. We're big tech people here, so we like to encourage folks to use technology to your advantage. Make it your slave. If all you're doing is using your smartphone for texting, a Facebook page or two, or post or two, a Twitter, and a phone call, you might as well go back to a feature phone because you're wasting a perfectly good digital assistant. You can also check us out through Skype. We're hoping now to get Skype integrated into the show here. They're still working on some issues with XSplit on that. Actually, the issue is with Skype. The latest version broke it. Its ability to use virtual cameras. But now that we've taken you into the tech realm more than you probably cared to. But for those who don't know, the old Windows Messenger is now integrated with Skype. So actually, Skype is both a video calling and a messaging service, if you will. So yeah, you can send us messages to two guys who dive. And I do have, last week we talked about how because of some issues with our server, we no longer had the Dive Club website up. But I do have a rudimentary, as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and bring that up. DelRioDiveClub.com is sort of up. Let me bring it up so you can see what we've got so far. Here we go. Switch to screen. There we go. So this is what we've got started so far. I'm teaching myself how to do this stuff on a Linux-based host, since I was doing it all on a Windows server before. It was very easy to just dump things right onto the server and edit it right on the server. But now, since it's being hosted elsewhere, learning how to set it up. Still working through some bugs here, but there are basic information up there. How to contact us. Information on the classes. Dates are there. And of course, a little page on the show here. Handy link to take you right to the show if you want to watch it live, which we'd love for you to do. We'd love to have your comments on the show. And eventually we'll get the Skype going, and we might be able to entertain some Skype calls as well. Maybe get Scuba Bob in here whenever he's sick and doesn't want to expose me to anything, but still can interact with the show through Skype, wrapped up in his little blanket and his pacifier. So that's what we have. And of course, if you want to contact me, you can send me an email at to robert.wade at setifox.net, or you can follow me on Twitter. I cover a number of things. I'm very politically active. So if you don't mind getting into a little bit of that, you can follow me at RobertCFP. And if Scuba Bob were here, he would tell you that you could follow him on Twitter at rsgarza435, or send him an email at rsgarza821@yahoo.com. So, well, that wraps it up for this week. Hopefully all players will be back on deck next week. And who knows what's going to happen between now and next week, but we're excited to continually be advancing the sport of scuba diving, as well as just sharing the general fun and frivolity that we have on the podcast here. So catch us on YouTube later. Catch any previous shows that we've done. We always post them up there, so you can go back to, actually it'd be interesting, go back and look at some of our first episodes and see how the show has progressed, how the graphics change and quality is improved over time. And so that finishes up this week, and we will see you next week on another exciting episode of Two Guys Who Dive. See ya.